So funny.
Well, this is the very beginning of Single Track's coverage at the 2025 UTMB World Series, joined by Dani Moreno, who we will introduce in a second. But quick station ID, a quick thank you to our partners, NAC, Goreware, Norda, and Raid, for making all of this possible. One of the best ways that you can support the work that we're doing is by heading to the show notes of this episode and checking out their products, maybe purchasing some stuff. So yeah, thanks to them. Dani, we've had you on the podcast before. First time, I guess, doing this in person. Saw you on the track at Western earlier this summer. How are you doing today?
I'm doing good. It feels like it's been a journey to get here. But at the same time it feels both long and short and it feels good.
Been following your writing recently.
Oh,
I'm
thanks.
glad that you joined
The
the
Substack.
Substack revolution. And one of the things that you talked about it might have been your first post, is this sense of boldness in trail running, and at least among athletes like yourself, the pros, whether it has a place in the sport. Um, Talk about where the motivation to write about that came from.
Yeah, I mean, if I'm being honest, just purely David Roche and like his approach to Western states. And it just was like, it seemed like a very polarizing topic in our sport, which I found really fascinating. Because I don't know, during my injury last winter, I became a big NFL fan, like fantasy football, like finding all the mini series and stuff like that. And all of those athletes carry themselves with so much confidence and like saying what they're going after, and it's like built into their DNA. Whereas I think as runners, like innately we're all humble, and so when someone says something like very loudly and puts a big goal out there, a lot of us are like, oh, like that's really risky.
Yeah.
And I think it's honestly because it's like it's a singular sport, like we have teams built up and stuff, but it's very vulnerable to like say your goal out loud, when especially when it's to win,
Yeah.
because there's only one winner. And when you line up, there's so many people thinking the same exact thing, but there's only one. Whereas, like in team sports, it's like you could lean on other people even if you're having a rough day. But yeah, like David, the whole story of David going into Western States was just so fascinating because of all these side conversations of people feeling inspired, feeling like it was a little too much for
Yeah.
them. And I was just like, why is this happening? And it on like tangentially reminds me a lot of Noah Lyles too. Like people either love Noah Lyles or they're really turned off. There's really not this weird middle spot. It's very polarizing in a way. And so yeah, that's what inspired me to write it, because I think there is a place for it. Like I find it exciting, and I am an athlete. Like it admittedly takes me a lot to be like, I am going to win this race, or I think I'm going to do this. But I think there's a lot of empowerment that can come from it, and hopefully, like a normalizing, like it's okay to have big goals and fall just shy of them or miss them completely. Like I think the point is to have goals in the first place and to say them out loud, like with intention.
You just made me wonder, is there anyone in the build up to OCC, CCC, or UTMB experimenting with this boldness the same way that David did before Western? Does
Not
anyone come to
anyone,
mind?
no, not anyone that hasn't done it before.
Yeah.
Yeah. I feel like some athletes are, I don't like using this term like peacocking,
Yeah.
because I do that too. Like I'll fluff my feathers when I'm having a good training block. And I feel like it gives, like whenever you say something out loud, it gives weight to it, right? Like you could think you love a person, but it means so much more when you actually tell them you love them. Um, so it's like I can think I'm having a great training block, but if I post on Instagram, like, big summer loading, and like putting that out into the world, it seems remedial, but that's like a big step for an athlete like myself. So, immediately I think of like my coach, Tom Evans. He's always confident, and I've always really appreciated about him. And like, he's landed some really big races. He's also missed them, just like Jim Walmsley as well, like historically. So yeah, I feel like we need to, like as a community, not, I don't want to say like cancel because we're not canceling people, but like confirm our own biases when people are like, I'm going to win this race and they don't. It's like, oh, told you weren't going to win that race. Like, I think that's kind of like toxic. I think it's like, that's really cool. You put that out there in your flavor. That's you. And you're like, you'll connect with some people that maybe I don't connect with. It's like, yeah, I don't know. I just keep going like there's space for all of us. There's space for people to be super confident. There's space for people to be super quiet and everything in between. And we'll connect with the audiences that like they feel like we're speaking to us. But we shouldn't like shame people for being one or the other.
So generally speaking, would you say that you were a supporter of the David Roche experiment?
Yeah, I would say like at first also I was kind of like, well, that's really bold, to be making a whole video series about a race. But then when I start, like, when something makes me uncomfortable, I am like an over self-aware person to the point where sometimes it comes with a fault where I'm like, but why does that make me uncomfortable? Like, this guy is just doing his own thing. Like, that literally has no effect on my life, Maybe on the sport that I'm living in because people are getting more eyes on it, but I don't know. He's not hurting me by being bold and confident and like doing these things.
I'm just thinking about the people listening and watching who are like, I want to stick with the status quo. To me, the status quo is like, you just quietly, humbly do the work. And then out of nowhere on race day, you put out this like majestic result. Is there any part of you that identifies with that? Like, what would be the argument to like keep the culture that way?
I think it's just comfortable, to be honest. And like, yeah, I feel that, I mean, in college, I'm running on a team and I'm like, oh, we're kind of all the same. We're like these quiet people, And I do think the sport like attracts that innately because of the nature of the sport. Like, I think I've talked to you in like side conversation. Like, I think a vast majority of us are very independent people. Like, we're okay spending hours by ourselves in the mountains.
Yeah.
And so, there's a certain personality that attracts. I don't know, there's just too many types of individuals and people in the world to feel like we need to have some sort of like written down mantra or like guarded community like through line that we all need to be and act the same way.
Yeah.
Like, I don't know. I'm just really fascinated with like humans in general, and there's a reason why we aren't all the same. So why should we try and like control that?
Yeah. You wrote about this, I think as you were thinking about this like boldness idea, you referenced Francesco's attempt to go sub 4 at Lavrate on the 50K. A couple that come to mind for me, Pau did like the breaking 20 thing during COVID on the UTMB course. I think Jim tried to do something crazy on the Hard Rock course around the same time. And again, maybe I'm just coming up empty, but if you look specifically at women's ultra running, women's sub ultra running, what would be a type of goal that you would see someone be going after and be like, that is exciting and that progresses the sport forward in the same way that like, Jim and Pau were talking about UTMB and Hard Rock course stuff? Or like a Faith Kipyegon type thing?
Yeah, no, that is a great question. I think immediately would be breaking the Sierra Zanel course record. I mean, it's pretty historic. It was run by someone who had run the course a handful of times, had a good understanding, Maud Mathis. I honestly don't know the course record right off the top of my head, but I think it would be something like, like breaking 250 or 245. It's like somewhere in there. That would really fascinate me if someone was like, this is my year-long goal, is to crack this course record. OCC, it's hard because now the courses are always changing, and last year Meow broke 6 hours. And I think that was actually a very, very superb run that like was undercovered, that was a huge, huge run. But yeah, that's hard to say just like off the bat. I'd have to like go across and see the course records.
What would be yours? What would excite you to go after?
Oh man.
Could be across the sport. Like it could be in the 100-mile scene. It could be
one that
10K.
Like really fascinates me and I was hoping to do this year is I really want to break 4 hours at Chuckanut. But it's so local. It's like very American, but it's a record that has stood a long time and no one has broken 4 hours. And I think it could be done, like with the right group and stuff like that.
Transitioning, we one of the podcast episodes we did was when I think you transitioned to Adidas Terex. You became like a pro athlete with them. And then I think there were some LinkedIn posts after kind of announcing like, not only am I a pro with Terex, but I'm leaving my tech job, going all in on this thing. In the time since, like, how has it been? Like, have you enjoyed it? What surprised you? Talk about it.
Yeah, it's been crazy, to be honest. Like, I was talking to a good friend, Rod Farvard of Hoka, because he quit his job earlier this year, just right before Western. And it kind of like took me back to that moment because in the big scheme of my life, it actually hasn't been that much time. Like, I quit July 2023. So it's been 2 years, and that's crazy to consider how long I've been running. I'm very much enjoying it, to be honest. And at times I crave talking about like program management, as vanilla that as that might sound to other people. And I think it's more just like problem solving. Like, I love puzzles, and that's why I liked my job. But I feel like it's been a couple of really hard years. Like, one year, I mean, a couple months after that, I dropped out of OCC, part of a great American contingent that dropped out that year. Dealt with that, but then like came back, had a great couple of races, and then, had another calendar year. So it was basically like a year and a couple months, and then I had my first major injury. And then it's been a injury journey for the last year. Like, I had 2 injuries in the past calendar year, which I hadn't had an injury in years, both acute, not like being overworked, under recovered, stuff like that. I mean, maybe there's like an essence of that in the first one, but I don't think I would have been able to fully embrace and consume the lessons that I've learned if I had been working. Like, my attention is fully on like embracing like being a true professional athlete. And this last year changed because like I changed up my team that supports me, and I built it out. And I think that really has enabled me to like even be, on the start line next week. Whereas if I had been working, I think that would have been a lot more difficult.
What's worked psychologically to get through that period?
Working with a sports psych. Like, I have a sports psych, and then I have a regular psych. So it's like, it's a little bit of managing, like, compartmentalizing, because everything kind of bleeds in together sometimes. Yeah. But I think working and trying to be a professional athlete for so many years, I'm exceptional at compartmentalizing, like almost to a fault. But the way that I kind of came to discover it is like, I can put things in boxes in my brain and like separate them, but that doesn't mean the boxes go away. Like, they're still there collecting dust. And so I've done the most self-work I've ever done on myself in this past year, which in turn I think has really allowed me to grow and like become mentally more resilient than I already was.
And again, this just shows my naivety, but to the extent, like, maybe talking generally about it, I think it's interesting that you have both a psych and a sports psych. Talk about, like, what would the difference in conversations look like there?
Yeah, the sports psych is more around like performance, I would say.
Like for this coming weekend.
Exactly. Yeah. And like, he knows a little bit of like, I have family stuff going on, like everybody and stuff like that. Whereas the psych is more about assessing my relationships with people in my life outside of running. Yeah. So to me, it's weird. Like, at first I did have a hard time like drawing the line, because when you have multiple psychs, you have to tell them that you are working, so they know like what's going on. And so it was up to me to define to both of them, or not so much the sports psych. He knew what his lane was, but the psych, I'm like, hey, I'm going to talk to you about these things. So when it does start to creep into running, she's like a gentle reminder of like, hey, that's for, so-and-so. And I'm like, okay. Yeah.
Fascinating. And do you feel like with the sports psych piece of it, that was prompted by the injury, or when you became a pro, you were like, this is just a tool in the toolkit that I want to add?
It was prompted last year before OCC, to be honest, like before the injury, which honestly, maybe you can even draw back to the fact that Adidas provides a sports psych. Because when I came on board, the sports psych was already there. And it's like, hey, you have this resource. And I was like, cool. Like, I feel pretty good, And leading into OCC last year, it was literally like days before the race. I was like, maybe I should talk to this guy.
Yeah.
And I felt just like very disassociated with my body at that point. Like, the mental aspect of the sport had just really, really fatigued me. Like, that block was too good, you know, where you come in and you're like, okay, I left everything in training. How am I going to salvage this for the race, sort of thing? Like, I was overcooked basically. And so sitting there, I was like, fudge, like I should have talked to you like 2 months ago, you know, to realize the signs that there was some emotional instability due to overtraining. But at that point I was like, well, c'est la vie, like I'm racing in a couple days, but I'll talk to you afterwards. And then I got injured and I was like, well, this is a really, really good time. Like, I am taking time completely off. Let's talk every single week. And that was really helpful because the best, like, little bits of mantra were from that sports psych during the injury. Just normalizing it, not like victimizing or like poor meing myself, like this really sucks. And that's not to say that wasn't present. It definitely was.
Yeah.
But normalizing it, just like, you know, this welcome to the club. Like, this is becoming, it already was an extreme sport, but because we're getting so much faster, it's actually becoming a more extreme sport because of how fast we're like covering uphill, downhill in these kind of scenarios. And yeah, the biggest aspect for sure was the comeback on downhill. Like, I had a trauma block for sure.
Oh my gosh, yeah.
Yeah, it was, I couldn't have done it without him.
This has been an open question for me maybe the last year or so, but you know, you're here and I know this is top of mind for you, but one of the questions that I want to explore this week with a bunch of different athletes is, as you're putting in the work in the lead up to a race like CCC, you, at least it seems to me in this day of age, that because it's getting so competitive, you have to be on the razor edge. Maybe you're taking some risks in training, etc. And a part of me wants to know, like, of all the athletes that are lining up, in your case on Friday, how many of these people who are planning to compete are operating at like a fraction of their capacity because they are coming into the race like a little banged up, a little bit injured. Maybe there's just other things in life that are like preoccupying them. And I guess in your case, like, what is like a minimum viable version of yourself that you would accept showing up? Like, is it like 75% of Dani? Does it need to be 95%? Like, how competitive is the sport getting where like you need to be as close to 100% as possible?
That is such a great question because that has literally been taxiing my mind for the last month. I think everyone has something going on. Like, I truly think. I think it's like maybe there's one out of the top 50 women that doesn't have something going on, you know? But yeah, everyone has something going on, always. Like, just talking to my team, like, everyone has family stuff. Everyone struggled to get in some session at some point because of some unexpected blah, 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 blah. But yeah, I think I'll speak to myself. Like, that was a really, really big struggle. It's like I've waited this long to debut at a longer race. And this is not how I was picturing it at all. And I think that's when you lean back on like your why. Like, will it be worth it is kind of a dangerous question, I would say, but I like definitely played with that one. Will I come out of this injured? And yeah, it's honestly, it's just, I think it's becoming rare to be at your top form at these races. Because it's just hard. It's hard to get the timing perfect. Like, every single year, year after year, if you figured it out, like, I'd love to hear that. So yeah, I think, sorry, I'm kind of rambling, but
No,
like,
not at all.
I think you need to like lean on what makes you you as an athlete. And if you can like truly, truly believe that when you're on the start line, then it's always worth like giving it a shot.
What's your why?
Me? My why this year is like I relearned what makes me me, and it seems like a good challenge to do that. I feel I don't know where I said this, but like if you had taken like Helen's training, Jen's training, and my training before Broken Arrow, and you took our names off of it, mine you would have been like, what is she doing up there? You know, sort of thing. Because yeah, that was like off of 30-mile weeks, and I was reminded that like my asset is like the fight in my dog, and I'm super optimistic the second half of races. I think that's truly like why I can close. Um, and I'm super gritty, and so those are kind of the assets I'm taking into this race too.
And maybe you found it at Broken Arrow. It sounds like you probably did, but is there an ideal headspace that you need to be in coming into a race like CCC?
I think you need to be hungry, like for sure hungry. It's 12 hours. I mean, ideally, less than 12 hours. But 11, 12, 13 hours, like tell me the last time you focused on something for that long, you know? And so I feel for me coming into my debut, because I'll always just like speak to myself, is like, am I antsy to race in a good way?
Yeah.
Mentally, am I like hungry enough but energized enough, like the classic like stress is stress, and just respect that. That was a long time to be focused for like just enduring and staying like hyper focused, not just on the big things but the little things. So yeah, it's been a journey. This last month has been really, really rough.
Yeah.
So for the listeners, I broke my toe, which was pretty unfortunate. I was just like at home brushing my teeth, and I had toe spreaders on, and I literally just nicked my toe, and then I was like, F. My husband comes, he's like, what happened? And I was like, I think I just broke my toe. He's like, no, like you're okay, like it's gonna be okay, it's probably just a bad sprain, trying to console me. And I was like, pretty sure I just broke my toe. And then, next day woke up, was kind of in denial, ran on it, and then I was like, that hurt the entire time. Took my sock off, and it was just purple. Just like, and it was one of those moments where, I don't know, I was kind of just laughing. I was like, really? Like, you couldn't take like a finger or an ear, like you took a toe. So this last month has been like such a detraining, deloading, just to like get me to the line healthy. I don't know if I'm actually answered that question.
No, I mean, well, what I was just going to say was, again, like thinking back to what I asked earlier, you are living proof at the elite level of sport that you do not have to be on the start line at your physical best to compete for a win or a podium.
Yeah, I guess we'll see after the race. Yeah, I think
right, like 30-mile weeks going into one of the most competitive races on North American soil.
Yeah, I do think, maybe it is that like mental health really is for me most important, because that's my asset. For someone else it might be fitness is their asset, but I think like, especially in a race, if you ever like see me starting to eat up the field, I would start like betting on myself, and be like, oh, Dani's moving up, like things are clicking. It's rare that I move up in a field and I don't fall back. It's usually that I just keep going. And so I just want to give myself a chance to see if that happens on race day. And immediately, like the last month, I was like, I don't want to drop out here again. It's really hard here. Like there's so many lights, so many cameras, and then you're kind of just stuck here of people asking like how you're doing. You're like, oh, I DNF'd. And I've done that before, and I was really scared to like revisit that. But I've become more and more comfortable that like that's going to be more and more part of the game as this sport continues to become more elite.
Yeah, and it's crazy to me that the sport is progressing so fast that you're talking about it's probably going to take sub 12 hours on Friday, and yeah, like you have to probably prepare that if I want to compete for a podium or win, like I have to run a time that no one's ever run before.
Yeah, what was the winning time last year? 11:57?
I think so. Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, I think this field, say we had perfect weather, like it was like 60 degrees, no rain, whatever, I think the top 5 would go under 12 this year. Like it is just that deep, and it's been cool like seeing the stats, because you read the list, and as an athlete, like I don't know everyone's index, like I barely even know mine. It's like changing all the time. I know roughly it's like 700 highs, but I like some weeks it's blah 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 blah, and it's like reading just the names, I'm like, oh, this is a big dog field. Like that person is podiumed here, that person is podiumed here. Like, I can name all the accolades. And then when you actually see the stats to back it up, you're like, this is one of those races that, like, it pops off sort of thing. And once the momentum starts building in the race, it's like Western States. It's like, you don't know what's going to happen.
12 hours to focus is a long time. That's definitely a puzzle piece. What are some of the other interesting puzzle pieces at CCC for you? Course-related nutrition, whatever.
For me this year, or just like as an objective assessment?
As you've studied the course, as you've done your research on like what it takes.
Yeah, I mean, that was a part of my hesitation to line up initially at first too, is like, you have to be able to do everything. Like, it truly, like, you can run each section fresh. Like, if I did the first 30K fresh, I'd run the whole thing. If I did the next 30K, if I started from Triant fresh, I could run to the finish, on fresh legs. Yeah. And so I think it's a balancing act of like energy allocation for sure. And having like a really, really durable body. And, I mean, I was just talking to my coach about this and just reminding myself, like, even though this training block is a month short of the durability that I want, like the pounding on the body, like it's still there from like years and years of training. But yeah, I think, so I love course profiles. Like, I would love to give a talk on like how I assess course profiles, because it's how I like come into races, is I'll just like look at it. And I think just my sports background, I can be like here and here. And it tends to do pretty well for me. Like, that happened at Broken Arrow, it's happened, blah, blah, blah. So CCC, it's like, to me, the balcony trail is actually super, super fascinating. Like, finding that right pain pocket where like you're running but not cooking yourself from like a heart rate standpoint. The downhill, obviously, to Chamonix, I think everyone talks about that. So like durability there and mental like fatigue there. And I've run a couple of like downhill half marathons and they feel forever because it's kind of the same thing. The body's not like changing up mechanically. And I think you can really cook yourself there. And the climb out of Triant, it's like just long enough that if you're having a rough time and you're not leaning into it and enduring, that can break your race right there. So it's a super, I mean, seeing it, and this is where like I need to start shifting my thoughts, is like seeing it for the first time, I was like, oh, I could win this race one day, but maybe not this year. Like, I can run really friggin' fast on this course one day. So I'm trying to like start to gather that confidence going into like this year.
I just finished up a TMB like fast pack with my buddy Jimmy, and so the back half of the course is like fresh on my mind, and we were blown away by two parts. One, how relatively technical the bovine climb is.
Yeah,
it's crazy. It's crazy technical, and then also because I did CCC in 2021, it looks like they switched up that last climb a little bit, and it's that section from like leaving Valorsine to Flagere. It's a jungle gym.
Yeah. It's funny you say that, because those are the two sections I know the most. Because OCC, I've run that 3 times, but I've run it more than that from like course scouting. Yeah. So it's like, I see what you're saying, but I feel like I've found the sweet spots of like how to navigate that. And then the other part you're saying, that was Mont Blanc Marathon, or that is Mont Blanc Marathon. Yeah. So like, I know how to roll that part too. So it's like you saying that, and I'm like getting a little bit frothed because I'm like, I know those sections. But they're cool. And it truly is like adding that extra layer of like, you need to be able to be pretty good at everything in CCC.
So we're recording this, my gosh, it's a week from the race day.
Yep.
We'll not hold you to anything, but as it stands today, like, where do you stand on racing next week?
Right now I'll be lining up, but that literally is of like the last hour. Yeah. Before that, I would have told you I wasn't lining up. But it's been that kind of battle, and starting to be in that mindset of like, you don't have as much to lose as you think by starting it. And truly like, I mean, I guess a little bit of insight, just like sitting with Tom and him showing like what I had before Broken Arrow and being like, you didn't have anything. And now you don't have the best block ever that we planned, but you did most of it, you know. So just again, like reminding me what makes me me and what makes me be able to pull out a little bit of greatness on some days, and just leaning into that optimism. And you can't predict the future. That's like the biggest thing. Like that's why we race. And I really like, I love racing. Like I would rather get like 6th, 10th in like a really deep field and feel like I got everything out of myself than win, you know, like a smaller something. I just think it like makes us better people. Like, oh my God, I could go about that for days, but just like the essence and rawness that it like strips you down to, that you're doing like with like a lot of people that you're friends, like it just brings this like sense of vulnerability that is just so hard to replicate. And I think it's truly like this individuality, but like amongst a collective, and that gets me so excited. And I'm a little bit of a show woman. Like I love eating up a good field. I love I love like hunting people down and being like, oh, where did Dani come from? Like I love adding like spice to a race, being like a side character that people weren't expecting to have like such a big role.
Do you think, excuse me, do you think that your strategy historically of being a second half runner and sort of having that spirit to rally, is that sufficient to win this race? Like not necessarily this year, but like as you think about the totality of your career, like does anything need to change there in your opinion?
Yeah, I probably need to be a little bolder in my starts, for sure. And I did experiment with that last year, and I think I took it a little too far in some races, like Zagama and OCC. But yeah, it's like a learning thing. But I've also won races like off of that too, just kind of sitting back. And I think, again, just like I don't want to come off as like I'm just tooting my horn the whole time, but like I think being comfortable with space is like a really good asset as well. Like I don't mind if the cord rips. Like I don't, like, as long as I have the confidence that I can like close. So yeah, I think it's about like better positioning for sure and closing. With that being said, like 2022, when Blondine won, slightly different course, but Sumaya Buddha made up like 20 minutes.
That's a great point.
Like she was like almost 22 minutes at Chamonix, and she almost won the whole thing. But it is one of those questions, if she had just moved a little bit sooner, would that have made a difference, or would that have taken out that second half out of her legs?
Yeah. All right, last thing. I want to talk really quickly about the subhub.
Oh yeah.
What's interesting about it right now, especially as you make this transition towards longer distances? Like obviously, like your media focus is in that space, and so just talk about what's exciting you there.
I think continuing to promote that it's hard and it should be appreciated at the same level as ultras, and like they truly are different beasts to attack for sure. And so I just want to continue promoting that it's fun to like try, and for somebody who maybe has run like longer stuff, to switch it up, but mostly resetting the expectations of like what trail running is, and that short trail is awesome, and if you're a young athlete interested in the sport, like there's space there for you, like if you're not quite ready to jump up. So yeah, I think it's just continuing to like nail in that it's cool, it's fun.
This is a pretty self-serving question, because I know I'm always self-conscious in like a good way about like how we cover 100-mile races, multi-day stuff, Barkley, etc. And so we're always asking the question, like, you know, like, are we happy with the way we conduct interviews, or we do preview shows or recaps? And like for you and MK in your space, like, are you guys like happy with how you're covering the sport? Like, do you think about things you would do differently, stuff like that?
Yeah, definitely. I think if we weren't both like pursuing our own pro careers, obviously MK is like working on growing a little family there now, we would put a lot more time into it, like make it a more just like built out media.
Would you do this?
Like, exactly. Yeah. I would love to sit with athletes on a couch like before Sears and all and stuff. And we've talked about like it evolving into that once we're kind of like more retired. Because I do think there is space for that, which is really cool.
Definitely.
And the live broadcasting, I had a blast at Broken Arrow. And so that's a space like I would definitely want to like lean more into and raise my hand more when people are like, who wants to do this, you know, sort of thing. But we're doing what we can right now, and what feels sustainable, I think, is the biggest thing, is like just produce enough content to where we feel like we're doing a pretty good job, even if we're not like, you know, dotting all the I's and the T's. Like, just get it out. It doesn't need to be perfect. It's imperfectly perfect.
Cool. I think that's a great place to put a pin in it. Dani, always a pleasure chatting. Regardless of what happens, super stoked to follow your race. And I know personally, I hope that whatever happens on Friday, you feel liberated just to have a fun time out there and kind of like channel all the reasons why you're stoked to be in the sport.
Thanks. Yeah, that is the goal. I just want to smile. I think my main goal is, can I take a joke at Chamonix? If I could take a joke, that's pretty good headspace to be in. But if someone tells me a joke and I'm like, bleh, like, don't tell me that. But if I can chuckle, I'm like, that's my goal.
Who needs to be there to issue the joke? Who would be
Probably my husband, because he's really good at like dad corny jokes.
Okay.
Yeah.
Thanks so much.
Thanks.